Alright, so today I want to give you an update on my ball python Dinker project. And if you're familiar with what a Dinker is, essentially what it is, it's like a normal wild type ball python with an unusual pattern that can't really be explained. And sometimes there's some genes kind of at work in some Dinkers that maybe you're not familiar with the genes or you can't really get a handle on them. Sometimes it's a brand new gene, or sometimes you can actually get a really crazy looking normal wild type ball python that is not genetic. You know, you breed it to something else and the pattern and the color on that Dinker won't transfer to the offspring. As a matter of fact, the female that it came from is kind of a Dinker too. It has a really unusual reduced pattern, which is kind of unusual. So today I want to give you an update on that Dinker, and then I want to show you the parents, the male and the female that it came from. And I also want to give that Dinker a name. He doesn't have a name. A lot of my ball pythons here in my collection don't have names, and I'm slowly going through and giving each one a name. Alright, so take a look at this snake. This is my Dinker, and it's kind of an interesting looking snake. You know, I've actually seen quite a few snakes that look really similar to this, and this should be, you know, technically this should be a normal 50% het pied, and I've actually showed this to quite a few people over the years. Look at how big she's getting. She's really big. And kind of the weird thing is, look at the patterns on the side. It's not really alien. It has this like floating little spots, you know, with these weird kind of the color coming in up the belly. And if you look at the top, take a look at the stripe right on the top. It's kind of broken up into like little, like almost like bubbles or little holes right on the top, and there's quite a few different opinions on what this thing could be. Look at the kind of the line right on the top, right by the neck. Isn't that kind of an interesting line right down the top that's kind of broken up? And usually normals don't have that strong of a line, especially with the little bubbles in it right down the top of the snake. Kind of crazy. And if you look at the belly, look at the belly on this one. It is really crazy. That is a really crazy looking belly. And as a matter of fact, when I first produced this, some people are saying, yeah, that is just an unusual looking het pied, where some people have produced het pieds that look pretty much almost like this. Someone said they had a het pied that was almost exactly like this. And there's some other snakes I've seen that look just almost exactly like this. As a matter of fact, if you go over to Morphmarket and look up the Rio, which is the Super Arroyo, there's one over there at Morphmarket that, I mean, this could be the same exact snake. It looks so similar to that Rio that's sold on Morphmarket for like $1,500. It's kind of crazy. And also over on Morphmarket, there's actually a mahogany over on Morphmarket that looks exactly like this, kind of an unusual looking mahogany. And I'm starting to wonder if that mahogany is really a mahogany or what is really going on with this snake and some of the lookalikes. It'll be kind of interesting to kind of prove this girl out. I'm thinking of maybe bringing it back to I'm thinking about bringing it back to my Coral Glow 100% het pied to get some banana pieds out of this, and maybe see if we can see some other kind of weird stuff popping out. This is really unusual. And one of the things I wanted to do, I actually brought my balance here, and I wanted to weigh her to see if she's up to weight. For 2 years old, she's pretty beefy. She's coming in, oh, right on the edge, 1,487 grams. Usually 1,500 grams is the minimum for breeding, and she's been fasting for a little bit, but she is super beefy. Look at how crazy that snake is. And it seems like the older she gets, the more of the kind of the yellow color comes out. You know, she seems like she's getting a little more yellow as she ages and matures. And it seems like the black right up on the top is really super dark, although a lot of normals can be really black too. But she just has kind of a really interesting appearance. And if you look at her head, it is kind of, you know, a little bit lighter, almost like a normal looking head. Nothing really unusual as far as the head, but the pattern on the side and the stripe on the back and the really crazy belly just kind of makes me think that there might be something else in this crazy snake. So what I want to do is I actually want to give this one a name. We can't forget to name it. Right now it's just my Dinker female 50% het pied, and we need a better name than that for this girl. So let's pick a name from my jar of names. And I actually got all these names from, I went to Google and I just searched common snake names. I just made a whole bunch of different names. This one, actually, I'm going to skip that name because that's kind of a male name. I'm gonna see if I can find another name. Most of these names are gender neutral, so here's a good name for. This is the first time I actually had to switch names. As a matter of fact, last year I named a male Elvis, and I definitely, no, it's actually a female. I definitely don't want to name a female Elvis. Here is her new name. Check it out. Her name is Happy. All right, so check this out. This is the female that Dinker came from, that Happy came from. Now that the Dinker has a name, take a look at this. This is kind of an unusual looking normal. Out of all my normals, this is probably the most unusual. If you actually take a look kind of at the color, right on the back of this, it almost looks like a coppery brown color, like it almost has cinnamon or something in the mix, although I don't think it's cinnamon because it hasn't really proved out to be cinnamon. And if you look at the kind of the pattern on the side, it's really super reduced compared to a normal. Really, it's kind of my almost like a khaki colored normal. Kind of an interesting female. Let's see if I can kind of unwrap her here. This one is a pretty amazing female. It's kind of weird that I hatched out that Dinker from something like this. And if you actually look at the belly on this one, not quite as jumbled up, although it's, you know, sometimes normals can be, no, I'd say it's pretty much a normal looking belly, not anything really off on that one. It's kind of interesting that she kind of has these weird kind of streaking right on that side, but usually, you know, she's like wrapping around the tripod now. All right, girl, come on, let's come back under here, under the camera. Take a look at this. She's a really good looking snake. And I actually bought this one. I bought a whole collection of females. I think I bought 4 normals in that collection, and then a pinstripe, and then a few lemon blasts. And that's how I really kick-started my collection early on when I first started breeding ball pythons. As a matter of fact, I was keeping ball pythons for a couple of years. I wasn't really producing anything because I was waiting for everything to grow up, and then I bought all these females and bred my bamboo. I actually bred Bobby to a lot of these. So as a matter of fact, if you got a bamboo, you might have got one from this girl that has, look at this pattern on the side, really kind of wiped out. Really an interesting normal for just being a normal female. All right, so this is Mango. This is the father of that Dinker. This is actually a Coral Glow, 100% het pied, so that's where the 50% het pied comes in. So this one we know for sure, 100% of the time, we know this is 100% guaranteed it has 1 copy of the recessive pied gene. If we breed this to something else, then half the offspring have 1 copy of the pied, but we don't know which one has pied and which one doesn't. So that's why that Dinker is 50%, is a 50% chance of having 1 copy of the pied gene. And kind of the interesting thing about this is that it has a really kind of a jumbled up pattern compared to most Coral Glows. If you kind of look at the pattern, it's kind of jumbled up a little. So you have a jumbled up pattern on this one, and then a really reduced kind of a wiped out, you know, like a coppery colored pattern on that female. And maybe something in both of these is just coming together to form that Dinker. I don't know if it's like a super or what is really going on. And the hard thing about the Coral Glows is it's a really visually dominant gene. So you can have a lot of genes kind of hidden underneath, and the Coral Glow will completely hide all those genes. And this guy's like all wrapped up like a ball of yarn. Can't figure out which way is up and down. And it's kind of interesting, when I bought this guy, I bought him as a hatchling, and he had a lot of oranges and purples, and it was really high, a lot of really impressive colors. And then he aged and matured. He kind of browned out into this 2-tone yellow with all these little black freckles. He didn't have any of these freckles when he was young. As a matter of fact, he kind of has some kind of graying or something through the side. You never know what is going on in some of these snakes, especially when you have a gene like this. You know, the Coral Glow is so visually dominant. And the guy that I got this from, as a matter of fact, I went over to Morphmarket and I was looking kind of at some of the genes that the breeder was working with, and he had a lot of really high-end, some of the newer genes, that some of the stuff I never even heard of at the time. And I was kind of going through, you know, wondering if, you know, there could be other things in this Coral Glow. Of course, you know, I bred this Coral Glow so many times, and I haven't really seen anything unusual come out of this Coral Glow as far as, you know, kind of unusual things other than that Dinker. Alright, so there you have it. That is my Dinker project. Looks pretty awesome. Looks like it might have some potential. As a matter of fact, I've seen some people doing searches for Dinkers over on Morphmarket. You can actually search for Dinker. It's like a keyword over there, and you can pull up a whole bunch of really weird looking normals and kind of take a chance, almost like fishing for gold in the stream, looking for new genes. I've seen some people where they just focus on Dinkers, and kind of the problem with that is to really prove out a Dinker. Essentially what I do is, you know, if I was to do it the right way, essentially what I do is I take a normal male and I breed it to the Dinker female and hope that it's genetic and I can actually see it in the offspring. And if I can't, essentially what I end up with is a whole bunch of normals. And let me tell you, if you're breeding a normal with a normal, producing a whole bunch of normals, in most cases you can't even break even between the food and the bedding. Sometimes you're taking a chance, but if you can actually find a brand new gene, you can name it, and sometimes you can sell it for a lot of money, and really you can put your name on the map for discovering a brand new ball python gene. So that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.